So I grew up as a big fan of WWE, wrestling, and I grew up here in this mission compound. And I remember when I was 10 years old, me and my friend Unen, he lived here also in the compound. Every Monday night, we would watch WWE Raw. And after watching the WWE show, we would go out and we would challenge the kids in this compound for a wrestling match. Of course, like WWE, we would pretend acting, we would act. We would have our own entrance music. We would pretend to be hurt. We would also have our own finishing move. There was one time, my friend Unen and I, we challenged two kids from this compound to a WWE match. That same week, my favorite wrestler of all time, The Rock, he's also known as People's Champion. Everybody loved him. He was challenging Brock Lesnar, and they were gonna fight in the SummerSlam 2002. It had been building up for many months now. And I was watching the show, the fight between The Rock and Brock Lesnar. And 1 hour into the fight, I saw The Rock had finally put Brock Lesnar down on the ground. He had pinned him down. And now it was time for The Rock to do his finishing move. And his finishing move is called the People's Elbow. So he would take out his armband, he would throw it in the crowd, he would do something like this, and then go from one side, and then go from the other side, and then before he was going to do his finishing move, Brock Lesnar, he gets up, and then he picks up The Rock and does his finishing move, which is F5, and he slams The Rock on the ground, and he pins him down, and 1, 2, 3, ding. It was over. The Rock lost the SummerSlam 2002, and I was so sad as a 10-year-old boy. And so still recovering from that grief, maybe when I was wrestling with those two boys from our compound, I decided to finish what The Rock could not finish. I did the People's Elbow. So I went from one side, I did the other side. This little kid is laying on the ground acting. I go from one side to the other, and then maybe because the adrenaline, and maybe because I was so excited, I did the People's Elbow maybe too hard. And he starts crying. He runs off to tell his parents. His parents come out, and me and Unen are running away. And the parents start chasing us. You know, that fight, that playing, wrestling, that's just between friends. You know, we play, we hurt each other, we become friends again. But what about enemies? Because we know that the showdown between enemies is not just People's Elbow or F5 or just at wrestling. When enemies appear in our lives, it's not just fun and games. There is deep fear and also deep pain in our hearts. You know, Jesus knew that during his time on earth here, and so he said this in Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. You have heard it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. You know, when Jesus was here on earth, there was actually enemies everywhere. We forget that the country that Jesus entered into history and gathered his first disciples was not a peaceful country at all. That sometimes we see on Christmas card, you know, in Christmas cards sometimes we see green grass, and little sheep, and everybody is smiling.